Our schools actually are the same as they were in the 50s.
But while the court cases were fought, the schools stayed closed, and the children, especially the black children, paid the price.
Our schools actually are the same as they were in the 50s.
So the crisis in school desegregation continued. In the fall of 1960 in New Orleans, 4 little black girls were sent to first grade in white schools.
Our schools actually are the same as they were in the 50s.
It caused a citywide riot. This was 6 years after the Supreme Court's ruling, and segregation was still a fact of life across the South.
Our schools actually are the same as they were in the 50s. It's almost impossible to fire a teacher.
It's happening across the country. Now, 175 Kansas City, Missouri school teachers are out of work, too. Just a couple of weeks before the school gets started there. Maybe hope. Lindsay Shively's in the newsroom to explain. And really, not a lot of notice here, Lindsay.
Not at all. Those 175 teachers in Kansas City just heard Wednesday that they won't be working for the district.
It's almost impossible to fire a teacher.
Hundreds of D.C. teachers won't be in the classroom this fall. D.C. public schools are firing them after several new staff evaluations. Fox 5's Matt Acklin is live outside school headquarters in Northeast with more details on this tonight. Matt?
Laura, we are talking 302 employees fired. 241 of them are teachers here in D.C. I talked to the chancellor not long ago, and she stands behind these firings. She says that the teachers that did not pass this performance evaluations just had to go.
It's almost impossible to fire a teacher.
Nashiba, we're talking about nearly 100 teachers fired there.
Yeah, Randy, the exact number, 74 teachers, guidance counselors, even the principal fired. They'll continue to work at Central Falls High School in Rhode Island through the school year, but when it ends, they're out.
It's almost impossible to fire a teacher.
Brazilian philosopher Paulo Freire. As an educator in Brazil, he criticized the current state of education where students sat passively as teachers deposited information. He dubbed this form of education the banking method, and he believed that poor students in Brazil, in order to rise above their impoverished state, needed to challenge the very way they were being educated.
It should be simple. A teacher in a schoolhouse, filling her students with knowledge and sending them on their way.
KIPP Academy has been named the highest performing middle school in the entire Bronx. Congratulations, KIPPsters.
Stanford University's Center for Research on Education Outcomes conducted the most comprehensive study on charter schools to date. What some of the most prominent charter schools have learned to create is the illusion of student improvement. As the number of students in red at KIPP go down, the proficiency rates in blue go up. When looking only at the blue line for proficiency, it would appear that KIPP has led its students to make dramatic improvements. However, if you look closely at the red enrollment line, you can see that the school lost over 20 students between 5th and 8th grade.
I am paid to educate a child, whether that mother is deeply engaged or that mother is not. And when we accept this as professionals, then you have to educate everybody.
Jeffrey Canada is the founder and CEO of Harlem Children's Zone, which manages hedge fund and billionaire-backed charter schools with over $200 million in assets. In 2007, Mr. Canada was exposed for kicking out an entire class of children from his charter school, Promise Academy 1, because their test scores were too low. To this day, Mr. Canada's 2 charter schools consistently show high rates of attrition, despite his claims of success.
Kids look at the world and they make certain predictions based on the evidence they're receiving from their peers, from their parents, and from their teachers. From their perspective, the world is a heartless, cold-blooded place because they realize they've been given the short end of the stick and they don't know why.
In 2007, Mr. Canada was exposed for kicking out an entire class of children from his charter school, Promise Academy 1, because their test scores were too low.
Between the 5th grade and the 7th grade, you see a huge number of minority kids go from being B students to D students.
In 2007, Mr. Canada was exposed for kicking out an entire class of children from his charter school, Promise Academy 1, because their test scores were too low.
We have neighborhoods in our cities and across the nation that have been under-resourced, have been devalued for decades. And for some reason or other, the schools are supposed to fix all that and change that.
For generations, experts tended to blame failing schools on failing neighborhoods. But reformers have begun to believe the opposite, that the problems of failing neighborhoods might be blamed on failing schools. That the problems of failing neighborhoods might be blamed on failing schools.
I think the best thing that happened to the education system in New Orleans was Hurricane Katrina.
I'm a big believer in unions. I think the teachers' unions should be alive for a long time.
Teachers' unions are, generally speaking, a menace and an impediment to reform.
Did you go to public school?
I didn't.
Okay. Oh, you didn't. So you've never really been in a public school except for this documentary?
Sidwell Friends, a private Quaker school. Sidwell has experience with educating presidential kids. Chelsea Clinton attended the school in the 1990s. Vice President-elect Joe Biden's grandchildren also attend Sidwell.
Did you go to public school?
I didn't.
Okay. Oh, you didn't.